And I want to start by saying that I totally get why many creatives and artists and lettering artists are afraid of taking the leap, because when I started, I was terrified. When I started, I had just moved to Berlin. As you know, I am originally from Argentina. I moved to Berlin, Germany back in 2010. And at that time, I had no connections whatsoever, no reputation in my discipline. I didn't even know the language. I couldn't speak German. So I had a lot of things against me. But I slowly started building, my connections and building my network and pursuing opportunities. And now, fast forward 13 years, I have built a business that really allows me to do the work I love, a beautiful container that allows me to impact the life of other creatives like you, and that also enables me to work alongside a team that is engaged with my vision and allows me to be in charge of my time and in charge of the things that I want to do. Welcome to Open Studio Podcast, space for lettering artists, illustrators, and creatives who are determined to thrive in their passion. I'm Martina Flor, and I've been through the ups and downs of building a successful creative business. From struggling to make ends meet to achieving my dream of becoming an award-winning lettering designer, I've learned valuable lessons along the way. Now, I'm here to share those lessons, strategies, and tips so that your journey can be smoother. Whether you're looking to turn your passion into a career or want insights to boost your creative business, this podcast is your guide. Join me on the Open Studio Podcast and let's make your creative dreams a reality. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Open Studio. I'm your host, Martina Flor, and in this episode, we are going to explore a few reasons why now is the best time ever to make money with your art. Whatever it is that you do, lettering artist, illustrator, creative, right now is the best moment to create income with your skills, with your unique skills. And in this episode, we are going to explore 3 reasons why this is the best moment to take the leap, to start doing money with your art. This is important because I know that many aspiring artists are afraid of taking the leap. And because of that, they settle for a job that doesn't fulfill them. And this happens to employees, so in-house creatives, designers, illustrators that are doing work for someone which is not aligned with their goals, with the work they love doing. And this happens to them, to people that are employees, as well as freelancers. There's a ton of freelancers out there that are taking any job that comes their way. And perhaps this is you, and you're thinking, okay, how can I start doing the work I love? And is this even possible for me? And today in this episode, I want to show you a few facts out there so that you can start focusing on possibilities and start seeing what is possible for you with your skills as a lettering artist, illustrator, or creative. And I want to say first that I get it. There is a stigma around making a living as an artist or creative. And that originates from the old misconception that an artist needs to have a patron to pay for their art, which was something that used to happen in the past. And that those who didn't have a patron who will pay for their art, then they would just starve. But times have radically changed, and there's never been more tools available to make a living doing what you love. So for someone like me who started her career in 2010, so in 2010, I pivoted careers from graphic design to launch my career as a lettering artist. And when I look back to 2010 and how things work nowadays, things have radically changed in a decade. And they will continue to rapidly change throughout the years to come. And today, I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why there's never been a better moment to make money with your art as a commercial artist, as a graphic artist, as a lettering artist. But first, let's recap a little bit. Why is this important? Why are we talking about this today? Because I know that there are many artists out there that are really miserable at what they do. And they don't dare to leave their jobs or to start something of their own because they have all these biases around what they could achieve. And this episode is not to convince you to take the leap into freelancing. Freelancing has its very own challenges. But with this episode, I want to open your mind in terms of what's possible for you. So if you are someone who is working at a job that you don't enjoy and you are living for the weekends, then this episode is for you. And if you are a freelancer who is taking any job that comes their way and you're thinking that it's impossible to do work that truly brings you joy, then this episode is also for you. And I believe that this topic is really important because if you're gonna make the decision of staying at that job that you don't enjoy or to take on those client assignments that you don't like and you don't want more of, then great. You can do that decision and you can do that informed decision. But I want you to do that informed decision rather than just accepting or settling down for something that is not necessarily true. And I want to put these facts front and center so that you can either make an informed decision of staying where you are or giving yourself the opportunity to give your dreams a shot. And I want to start by saying that I totally get why many creatives and artists and lettering artists are afraid of taking the leap, because when I started, I was terrified. When I started, I had just moved to Berlin. As you know, I am originally from Argentina. I moved to Berlin, Germany back in 2010. And at that time, I had no connections whatsoever, no reputation in my discipline. I didn't even know the language. I couldn't speak German. So I had a lot of things against me. But I slowly started building, my connections and building my network and pursuing opportunities. And now, fast forward 13 years, I have built a business that really allows me to do the work I love, a beautiful container that allows me to impact the life of other creatives like you, and that also enables me to work alongside a team that is engaged with my vision and allows me to be in charge of my time and in charge of the things that I want to do. And the good thing is that with the tools available today, you can do that much faster. I would have loved to have some of the tools that you have nowadays to grow a business, to create an audience, to market yourself. I would have loved to have access to those tools early on in my career because it would have skyrocketed my progress. What took me 13 years to accomplish, it would have maybe taken me 5 or 6. Hey, real quick, you know that I don't run any ads on this podcast and I don't sell anything. The only ask I could ever have is that you help me spread the word. Let's empower more lettering artists, illustrators, and creatives to make a living with their skills, create beautiful work, and build a thriving business doing what they love. The key to making this happen is if you could take just a moment to rate, review, and share this podcast. It's as simple as a 10-second review or one tap of the thumb. Your support will mean the world to me, and more importantly, it could change the world for someone else. Now, back to the show. So let's look at what these things are, what these great opportunities are right now. The number one fact is that the demand for graphic material has skyrocketed. Think about the boom of social media and content creation. It seems like it's more than ever before. You go on social media and there's an overwhelm of content. And the creation of content, specifically visual content, has multiplied exponentially. And I can speak for myself in my business, within my team. We have seen ourselves creating more content than ever. And that is possible nowadays because we have so many tools, because we have this capability to create more content than ever. And to stand out from the crowd, because there's so much content out there, brands and companies and products, they need your expertise. So look around you. Take a moment and look around you. How many things could you find that have an illustration, a lettering piece, or a design on them? Take a moment and look around. I bet that you can spot at least 3 to 10 things that have some sort of visual image on them. And this is because visual communication is the most powerful way of communication. And companies and brands know that. And there's a high demand for what you do. Now, the fact number 2, so that is fact number 1. The demand for graphic material, for visual communication has skyrocketed. And the good news is that it will never stop growing, because visual communication is another form of language, and language is what we use as humans to communicate with each other, to convey ideas, to tell stories. So there will always be a demand for what you do. And furthermore, it seems that this demand is growing. So that's fact number 1. Fact number 2 is that you have the capability to market yourself. Nowadays, you have that capability. Now, think about the past. You had to pay media outlets for hundreds and thousands of dollars. I remember that when I started my career as a lettering artist, actually, at that moment, Instagram started making their first steps. But before that, if you wanted to promote yourself, you had to go to the big media outlets. That meant magazines, that meant TV, and paying for a spot, for a TV spot, and paying for a media outlet on a magazine was kind of like out of the reach of any beginner, anyone who was just starting their business. Nowadays, you have the capability to start your own social media account and build your audience and talk to millions if that's what you want. Today, you can use social media and build your own marketing channel. And your marketing channel can be much bigger than the channels of some established media channels. So think about that. Think about what a great possibility you have there. And you don't need to pay for it. You just need to invest your time to build that platform. You can even run paid ads nowadays. You can run Facebook ads. You can run Instagram ads. And that costs a minimal fraction of what ads used to cost, what an ad on a magazine used to cost. And I can give testimony of this because in my early years as a graphic designer, I used to work for the brand Levi's. Back when I was living in Argentina, I was a creative director for that brand. And I remember exactly the kind of budget that the company had for media outlets. And I know exactly how much they paid for one ad, one spread in a magazine. And that was thousands of dollars at the time. And nowadays, just with $1, you can generate a lead for your business running a Facebook ad. And this doesn't go to promote Facebook ads whatsoever, but I just want to present the fact that the cost for reaching new audiences, expanding your reach is minimal in relation to what it used to be. And of course, like in any business, in a creative business, marketing yourself is one of the main things you should be doing to generate new leads and to bring more business to your business. So in my business, in my company, I constantly work, and my entire team constantly invest time in generating leads and building an audience, because we know that these are our ideal clients. We are working hard to reach our ideal clients, people that then will become part of our academy, those ideal students that will help us grow a community that is safe and beautiful and all we want it to be. And the great thing is that by building our audience and by building our email list and by building our social networks, we have direct access to them. Furthermore, we can measure those efforts. Nowadays, we can measure the efforts of running Facebook ads, or we can measure the efforts of creating a reel for social media because we have the stats. We can look at things that we have done and see how that landed in our audience, which is very important information. So just to give you an example, in the past, booking, paying for a spread in a magazine for your ads, you were just hoping that this will hit a lot of eyes and that it will bring you business, but you had no way of proving whether that marketing strategy or that marketing action brought any specific business to your business. Nowadays, with the tools available, with the platforms available, with social media, you have all these tools which help you optimize your efforts so that you can focus on creating those things that really matter to your audience, that really matter to your ideal clients, and that also save you a lot of time. So that is the fact number 2, that you have the capability to market yourself at a very low cost and with high effectivity. That means that you have the chance to optimize what you're doing so that by minimal input, you can get the maximal output. And the fact number 3, that is an advantage for making money with your art, is that you can work all over the world. So there's no boundaries anymore. I remember that as I started, and I was still back in Argentina, and I wanted to leave my day job, which at that time was creative director in an agency in which I was totally miserable at. I didn't like my job. I felt it was really not creative at all. I spent most of my time in meetings and kind of on my inbox. And I remember that at that time, I said to myself, like, but how am I gonna, if I leave this job, how am I gonna do or make a living as an illustrator in Argentina, where I felt that they wouldn't appreciate enough the kind of work that I wanted to do? And now when I look back at what I used to say to myself, I think like, well, but you don't need to work for clients over there. You can, the world is your place. Nowadays you can work for the market that you want. The world is the market. And there was a big shift for me when I moved to Germany to launch my career as a lettering artist, that when I studied in Germany as an immigrant, I didn't know the language. So I knew that I had to look for some work somewhere else. So that those limitations, those boundaries that I had in relation to the language immediately made me change my mindset towards like opening my mind to other markets and other people and looking for work outside of my location. Eventually, the work for German clients arrived, and at that time, it didn't really matter because for me, the market was the world. So I could work. I had already the capability, the mindset to work with whichever client, whatever they were. So if you have been telling yourself that it's not possible to make money with your art, whatever it is that you do, illustration, photography, lettering, I want you to take a minute to reflect on what we have discussed today and put your mind into focus on possibilities for some minutes. Think about the 3 facts that I presented for you today, the 3 opportunities that you have that are unique to this time to create income with your work. Number 1, the fact that the demand for visual material has skyrocketed. And that is a fact, and you can see it. If you look around you, you will find more visual material than never before. If you go on your phone, on social media, you will find your feed flooded with visual material. The fact number 2 is that you have the capability to market yourself at a very low cost and with high effectivity. And the fact number 3 is that you can work all over the world. You're no longer bound to your location. You can stay where you are and create an audience and work for a market that is outside of your city, of your country. So these are 3 amazing opportunities that artists, lettering artists, illustrator, creatives have nowadays. And I want you to take some minutes to think about this and to take a piece of paper and write. Number 1, look around. See where there's demand for the kind of work you love doing. And you will see that you will find plenty of them. And the more you look for it, the more you will find it. Number 2, think about what would be some ways for you to market yourself. Is this going to be through social media, or are you going to build a subscribers list for your newsletter? Would you like to start a YouTube channel? Think about what is the possibility that you feel more enthusiastic about, because here is not about like spreading yourself thin. It's about focusing and going deep. So start thinking about what will be some ways in which you will feel comfortable marketing yourself. And number 3, start thinking about how you can expand your reach beyond the place where you live. Do you need to connect with friends who live abroad? Do you need to join online communities? Do you need to start training your foreign language skills? What does it take for you to start looking beyond where you are right now? And all of these exercises that I'm proposing to you is because, in a way, I want to get your wheel spinning and allow you to see the world through the lens of possibility rather than scarcity. So if you start looking for the demand that there is for the kind of work that you love doing, if you start thinking about the possibilities there is for you to market yourself and what would be the ideal way for you to do that, and if you start thinking and focusing on what are the possibilities for you beyond your location, then this is where things start shifting, when you start seeing possibilities that you haven't seen before. And once you start seeing the world through that lens, you will be more able to imagine yourself in the position of pursuing those dreams, pursuing the dreams of making a living with the work you love doing, of taking on client assignments, of work that really brings you joy. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with your colleagues and fellow artists, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Go ahead and click that button, this subscribe button, in whichever platform you are listening to this episode. And stay tuned for more tips and interviews and inspiration that is coming next. Have a beautiful day and see you on the next episode of Open Studio. Bye-bye. So this is it. I hope you loved this episode. You can find me, the host of the show, on social networks at Martina Flor on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have a question or comments, go to martinaflor.com/podcast, where you can see previous episodes, find show notes, and send voice memos with your comments and questions. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube. Just go to martinaflor.com/YouTube to find them. You can, of course, listen to all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. If you loved this episode, subscribe to this podcast. And if you leave us a review, it will help others find us. Thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode of Martina Flor's Open Studio. Bye-bye.